Welcome to IE News Week in Review, and welcome to our viewers logged on to our website www.ietvtt.com. I am Micah Dumi. Thank you for joining us. Let's take a look at the top stories that made the news headlines on Monday, May 25th. Minister of the People's Social Development and Family Services Vandana Mohit says government has approved major reforms to the Standard Means Test, commonly known as the SMT, aimed at ensuring more families qualify for social assistance grants. Here's more. Speaking in Friday's sitting of the House of Representatives, Minister Mohit said the changes are long overdue and are intended to better reflect the realities facing vulnerable citizens in 2026 and beyond. She noted that for years, vulnerable households were being assessed using outdated benchmarks established before major increases in food prices, transportation costs, housing expenses, utilities and healthcare burdens, as well as the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister Mohit revealed that an inter-ministerial committee was established in July 2025 to conduct a comprehensive review of the SMT, which contributions from economists, academics, statisticians, health experts, social policy specialists, and representatives from several ministries. The review resulted in significant updates to the country's poverty indicators. According to the minister, the poverty line has increased from 1,439.02 to TT 2,044.23 per adult equivalent per month, a 42.1% increase. She added that the indigence line moved from TT 553.47 to TT $783.23, while the vulnerability line increased from TT 1,798.78 to TT 2,555.29. Minister Mohit said the revised thresholds acknowledge the rising cost of living and will allow more genuinely vulnerable households to qualify for assistance instead of being excluded under outdated criteria. She explained that the reforms will also allow assessments to better reflect actual living conditions and could result in more than TT 900 in additional disposable income being considered when determining eligibility for assistance programs. The minister added that families previously denied access to public assistance grants under the old system may now qualify under the revised framework.
That for almost a decade, vulnerable families were being assessed using benchmarks established before dramatic increases in food prices, transportation costs, housing expenses, utilities and healthcare burdens, and most importantly, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is the uncomfortable truth. Madam Deputy Speaker, a system designed to protect the vulnerable cannot remain frozen in time while the cost of survival continues to rise. The poverty line has moved from TT $1,439.02 to $2,044.23 per adult equivalent per month, an increase of 42.1%. The indigence line has increased from $553.47 to $783.23. The vulnerability line has increased from $1,798.78 to $2,555.29.
Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar extended greetings on the occasion of Indian Arrival Day during Friday's sitting of the House of Representatives. The Prime Minister acknowledged the significance of Indian Arrival Day, which commemorates the arrival of the first East Indian indentured laborers to Trinidad on May 30th, 1845. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar paid tribute to the contributions of the Indo-Trinidadian community to the nation's cultural, social, and economic development, while recognizing the sacrifices and resilience of the country's foreparents. She also highlighted the importance of unity, diversity, and national pride as Trinidad and Tobago continues to celebrate its multicultural heritage.
I know my colleagues on the other side would have liked to join us here today to commemorate the 181st anniversary of Indian Arrival Day in our great Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Regrettably, they saw it fit not to be present, nor to bring greetings on their own behalf or on behalf of their constituents. So I take this opportunity, Madam Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the government and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and on behalf of the United National Congress, which forms the government, cabinet, of our great republic, to extend sincere greetings to the national community, and in particular to our Indo-Trinidadian and Tobagoan brothers and sisters, whose history, struggles, sacrifices, and achievements have become inseparable from the story of our nation itself. Madam Deputy Speaker, Indian Arrival Day is not merely a date on our national calendar. It is a solemn and proud reminder of one of the defining chapters in the making of TNT. It's an occasion that calls us to reflect upon the courage of those who crossed oceans into uncertainty, to honor the resilience of those who endured hardship with dignity, and to celebrate the generations whose contributions transformed struggle into legacy and sacrifice into nation building.
The amendment to the Administration of Justice DNA Act was passed in the Senate on Friday following debate over national security, border protection, and the handling of DNA data. The legislation will allow non-intimate DNA samples to be taken without consent from persons entering Trinidad and Tobago from conflict zones where they may have served as a foreign terrorist, fighters, or where authorities have reasonable grounds to believe they pose a terrorist threat. Speaking during debate in the Senate, Daryl Alahar said the amendments were necessary to address existing gaps in the law. He argued that the current Anti-Terrorism Act does not adequately address issues involving the repatriation of citizens returning from conflict zones or areas affected by the terrorist activity. The bill was eventually passed with 23 senators voting in favor, 7 against, and no abstentions.
The Anti-Terrorism Act, in our respectful view, and others, do not adequately address the issue of repatriation of citizens from conflict zones or areas which that may be declared geographically as zones where terrorist acts have occurred or are occurring as we speak. If you look at the case of Agent McLeod, you look at all these other cases that talk about protection of the law. Protection of the law includes the right of access to a court for the vindication of your rights.
From the freshness of the ocean, Rainbow has sealed in all the natural, healthy goodness in their canned tuna, sardines, and mackerel. So go ahead, enjoy some crispy sardines, stewed mackerel, or a creamy tuna salad. Because while your tummy enjoys the great taste, your heart and immunity will love the healthy omega-3s, calcium, protein, and more. Rainbow's canned tuna, sardines, and mackerel are 100% real fish. So it's tasty, healthy eating for your body, heart, and mind. Rainbow canned fish.
Tile Expressions Limited, as one of the largest importers of tiles, offers an extensive range of high-quality tiles in ceramic, porcelain, granite, stone, and mosaic options. Additionally, we offer a variety of tile accessories and bathroom sets to complement any decor style. We are committed to providing exceptional customer service and swift delivery of all products. From indoor and outdoor tiles to bathroom sets and tile accessories, we have curated a range that caters to both traditional and modern taste. Lampus 13, Ajudha Road, Munro Road, Canopio. Call 223-8453.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the top stories that made the news headlines on Tuesday, May 26th. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has broken her silence on the growing public backlash surrounding the Kai Sealy matter, defending the role of law enforcement while outlining a series of new legislative and crime-fighting measures expected during the next session of Parliament. Here's more. Responding to questions about police issuing warrants for Sealy to face a manslaughter charge linked to the death of her common-law husband Joshua Samaru, the Prime Minister referenced two controversial quotes on morality and law enforcement. One quote stated that the most evil among us always expect the rest of us to live by morals that they don't possess themselves, while another declared that people sleep peaceably in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. The comments come amid heated national debate over the police investigation and wider concerns surrounding crime, justice, and the conduct of law enforcement officers. Prime Minister Prasad Bosesa also defended her government's performance during the first session of the 13th Republican Parliament following Friday's proroguing ceremony, while acknowledging that further improvements are expected when Parliament resumes on June 5th. Among the measures being planned are legislation to establish the post of Judiciary Chancellor, raise the legal age for alcohol consumption, marijuana use and gambling, and amend laws related to firearms, gated communities and private home approvals through local government bodies. The Prime Minister said government's focus remains on improving efficiency and making life easier for citizens through legislative reform and deregulation measures aimed at simplifying business operations. Addressing the issue of increasing school violence, Prime Minister Prasad Bosesa confirmed that the Police in Schools initiative will be expanded. All the principals who object will have the option to decline participation. She also announced plans for parental responsibility legislation and the introduction of parent patrols in schools as part of efforts to tackle youth misconduct and indiscipline. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister criticized opposition MPs following last Friday's walkout during a debate on the Victims' Rights Bill. She accused members of the People's National Movement of spending more time in the Parliament tea room eating than debating inside the chamber. The Ministry of Homeland Security is preparing to overhaul Trinidad and Tobago's passport system with the planned introduction of a new electronic passport or e-passport platform aimed at strengthening border security and modernizing immigration operations. In a recently issued expression of interest, the ministry invited qualified companies and service providers to submit proposals for the upgrade of the existing passport issuing and control system currently used by the Immigration Division. The proposed project signals a major shift away from the current machine-readable passport system toward a fully integrated electronic passport network featuring enhanced security technology and digital verification systems. According to the notice, the new e-passport platform is expected to comply with standards established by the International Civil Aviation Organization and will include upgraded software, secure network infrastructure, and advanced passport production capabilities and online application processing. Officials say the modernized system is intended to improve efficiency, strengthen identity protection measures, and enhance the overall passport issuance process. Across Trinidad and Tobago, the planned rollout is also expected to introduce digital enrollment systems, biometric integration, quality assurance modules, supervisory review functions, scanning technology, and electronic verification mechanisms. Authorities indicated that the project would extend across multiple operational sites nationwide, including facilities connected to passport production, testing, training, and disaster recovery. The ministry further stated that the new platform must support online applications and electronic payment processing as the government continues its broader push toward digitized public services. Interested entities are being required to demonstrate experience in passport system implementation, security integration, and compliance with international standards before advancing to the next phase of the procurement process. Submissions for the expression of interest are expected to close on June 19th, 2026. Speaking at the Shell and Explorers Awards ceremony on Friday, Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training Professor Prakash Prasad encouraged students to embrace modern technology, including computers and artificial intelligence, while warning against becoming overly dependent on digital tools. He stressed that although technology can support learning, critical thinking and human reasoning must remain central to education. Minister Prasad noted growing international concerns that education may now be adapting to technology, supporting education, adding that some commentators fear younger generations may be losing important thinking skills due to over-reliance on digital systems. The minister also revealed that his ministry is working alongside the Ministry of Education, Trinidad and Tobago, to strengthen digital education and coding skills from the primary school level. He explained that plans are underway to begin coding programs in primary and secondary schools, but emphasized that teacher training must come first to ensure educators are properly equipped to deliver the initiative.
That keep on using new technology, but do not stop thinking. there's a growing movement now where people are saying, for the first time, at least one commentator in the United States is saying that, and other places also, that with the increased use of technology, technology is no longer supporting education. Education is being used to support technology. And for the first time in the US, they're saying that the succeeding generation is not as smart as the existing generation. Partnering with the Ministry of Education, we want to start training teachers to be able to start coding, physical coding at the primary schools, and if possible, secondary schools. But right now, we cannot start these programs if the teachers cannot do it.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality bromate free, all purpose and whole wheat flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisho Limited at 665-3336 or 480-8715 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisho Limited, quality you can trust.
Are you renewing your motor, homeowner or business insurances shortly? Then call Kalyani Limited, agency for Tatil, for a competitive quote. With 2 locations, Todd Street, El Socorro and 5 Rivers, Aruca. Please call us at 221-5051 or 227-5051. Kalyani Limited, agency for Tatil, building relationships exceeding expectations.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the top stories that made news headlines on Wednesday, May 27th. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has extended Eid al-Adha greetings to the Muslim community, calling on citizens to embrace the values of faith, sacrifice, compassion, and unity during the sacred observance. In a message issued on May 26, the Prime Minister described Eid al-Adha as the greater of the 2 Islamic Eids, marking the culmination of the Hajj pilgrimage and a time for prayer, reflection, gratitude, and spiritual renewal. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar reflected on the story of Prophet Ibrahim and his willingness to sacrifice his son, Prophet Ishmael, in obedience to Almighty Allah's command, describing it as a timeless example of devotion, humility, and unwavering faith. Quoting from the Holy Quran, the Prime Minister noted that true faith is measured not by ritual alone, but through sincerity, pity, and compassion towards others. She also acknowledged that Muslims across Trinidad and Tobago would gather and in their homes for prayer, fellowship, and the sacred tradition of Qurbani, which symbolizes sacrifice and charity. The Prime Minister said the sharing of food and assistance with relatives, neighbors, and those in need reflects the enduring spirit of community and social solidarity associated with Eid al-Adha. She further extended prayers and well wishes to pilgrims from Trinidad and Tobago who traveled to the holy city of Mecca for Hajj this year, describing the pilgrimage as a profound spiritual journey rooted in humility, endurance, and devotion. While recognizing the joy of the occasion, she also noted that many people around the world continue to face hardship and uncertainty, adding that Eid al-Adha serves as a reminder of the importance of peace, compassion, and human dignity. On behalf of the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister wished the Muslim community a peaceful and blessed Eid al-Adha celebration, ending her message with Eid Mubarak and Hajj Mubarak. Minister of Trade, Investment and Tourism Satyakama Maharaj says Trinidad and Tobago's long-term economic future depends on reducing its dependence on the energy sector and accelerating growth in non-energy industries. Here's more. Speaking during the ministry's one-year review held under the theme Diversification and Action, Driving Economic Growth Beyond Energy, the minister outlined the government's plans to strengthen investment, expand tourism, improve exports, and create a more competitive business environment. Minister Maharaj said economic diversification remains critical to ensuring sustainable growth and resilience, particularly as global energy markets continue to fluctuate. He noted that the government is focused on developing sectors outside of oil and gas to generate new opportunities, attract investment, and create jobs for citizens. The minister added that efforts are also being directed toward improving the ease of doing business, strengthening trade opportunities and positioning Trinidad and Tobago as a more attractive destination for both regional and international investors. He said the ministry's strategy centers on building a modern and competitive economy capable of sustaining long-term development beyond the traditional energy sector.
Today is not simply a report on activities undertaken over the past year. It is a report on the beginning of a new framework for economic transformation, institutional alignment, and national development. In many respects, this manner of reporting by a minister and a ministry may be somewhat unique, but by the end of today's presentations, I believe you will better understand not only what we have done, but more importantly, why we have done it. But our country also possesses enormous untapped potential in the non-energy sectors. Transformation and development of the non-energy sectors is about building a more balanced, resilient, and sustainable economy capable of generating broader opportunities, stronger foreign exchange earnings, increased competitiveness, and long-term national stability. Because countries do not transform by accident.
Opposition leader Penelope Beckles is calling for urgent reform on police oversight laws, warning that Trinidad and Tobago must not become what she described as an unchecked police state. Here's more. In a statement issued on May 26th, Beckles accused Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the government of failing to address growing public concerns surrounding police accountability, transparency, and national security. Opposition leader Beckles specifically called for amendments to legislation governing the Police Complaints Authority, arguing that the body should be granted stronger investigative powers similar to Jamaica's Independent Commission of Investigations, commonly known as INDECOM. According to Beckles, the proposed reforms would allow PCA investigators to immediately secure evidence at scenes involving police killings and gain faster access to critical information during investigations. The opposition leader also renewed calls for mandatory body-worn cameras for police officers and all law enforcement agencies authorized to use force, saying the measure would improve transparency and accountability while protecting both civilians and officers. She criticized Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander over the cancellation of the procurement process for body cameras, claiming the public has not yet received a proper explanation despite ongoing concerns over violent crime and police operations during the state of emergency. She further accused the government of avoiding accountability while public trust in law enforcement continues to erode. Referencing concerns surrounding the Kai Sili matter and the police killing of Joshua Samru, Beckles argued that stronger oversight mechanisms are urgently needed. She also defended the role of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, describing it as one of the few institutions in which citizens still place confidence. The opposition leader ended by urging the Prime Minister to take direct action rather than relying on public statements and media responses as debate continues over policing, accountability, and public safety in Trinidad and Tobago.
Introducing Signature Marine Coatings. We bring you premium marine solutions powered by PPG coatings, including anti-fouling protection, high-grade epoxy systems, fiberglass materials, and complete marine refinishing supplies. Protect, enhance, and maximize the performance of your vessel with products you can trust. Get the finish your vessel deserves. We are located at Tardy Marine Limited in Chagaramas. Call us today at 2900-654 or email at signaturepaints@hotmail.com.
Let's do India and Nepal, a soulful journey across timeless destinations. Delhi, Kathmandu, Varanasi, Ayodhya, Haridwar, Rishikesh, Agra, and Jaipur. August 12th to 28th. Presented by Pandit Omarat. Call 681-3476 to book now. Not just a trip, it's a spiritual and cultural experience.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the top stories that made the news headlines on Thursday, May 28th. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar says the state of emergency could be extended for another 3 months if recommended by the country's National Security Council. Here's more. Speaking in response to questions from a media source, the Prime Minister stated that she would have no problem extending the SOE if advised to do so by national security officials. The current state of emergency came in effect on March 3, 2026 and was later extended by Parliament on March 13th. It is currently scheduled to end in June unless the government approves another extension. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar defended the emergency measures, pointing to what she described as a major decline in murders and serious crime since her administration took office. According to the Prime Minister, Trinidad and Tobago recorded 626 murders in 2024 under the former People's National Movement administration. She said 2025 saw 367 murders, 259 fewer killings, and the country's lowest annual murder figure in 15 years. Responding to critics who claim the reduction in crime is linked to the SOE, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar argued that such criticism effectively proves the measure is working. She also claimed that the government's anti-crime strategy has included dismantling gang financing networks, ending programs such as CPEP and URP, and increasing cooperation with the United States on regional anti-drug operations and security support. The Prime Minister further revealed that the government sought assistance from the United States after determining that Trinidad and Tobago's national security system was not receiving value for money and was overly dependent on what she described as a small group of suppliers providing outdated or unnecessary services and equipment. She said the government is now adopting new technologies and strengthening anti-crime capabilities as part of ongoing efforts to reduce violent crime and improve national security. Minister in the Ministry of Housing, Philip Edward Alexander, raises questions amid public outcry over the fatal police shooting of Joshua Samaru and wounding of Kai Seeley. In a Facebook Live, the minister raised pointed questions about the January 20th fatal shooting, taking a position that runs contrary to the dominant wave of public sentiment. The minister questioned why the couple fled from police in the first place, leading to a high-speed pursuit from Maloney to St. Augustine, suggesting that the decision to evade law enforcement cannot be ignored in the broader public outcry. His remarks come after tensions across Trinidad and Tobago continue to rise after police officers arrested the protest movement leader Alyssa Phillip and another individual near the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, where officers had established a heavy security presence amid warnings that no protests or public gathering would be allowed in the area.
Why would you have to be running from the police at such a pace that you crash your car? And when you crash your car, why would you need to turn down your window and stick your hands out? Nobody in Trinidad has done that since. Not one single person in Trinidad have been pulled over by police since that accident occurred, since that event occurred. Not one single person in Trinidad and Tobago has been stopped by police, and the first thing they do is turn on the window and stick their two hands out. Not one. Not one person. So why did Joshua have to do it? That's my problem here. You see, I see the police shoot up the car. That's what I see. But I see the end of something that started in Maloney and ended in St. Augustine.
Let's now take a look at some international news.
Tonight, 1 dead, 9 missing, and multiple people critically injured after a frightening incident at a pulp and paper mill in southwest Washington state.
It looks like there's 3 people with chemical burns and 1 subject is missing.
First responders racing to Nippon Dynawave Packaging Company around 7:15 a.m. as a tank containing hazardous liquid known as white liquor had ruptured. Photos obtained by Cowlitz County News, a citizen-run Facebook news site, appear to show the crumpled tank, vehicles flipped over and crushed. The substance in the tank is a mixture of chemicals that can burn the skin on contact or burn the lungs if inhaled.
It was roughly an 80,000 gallon tank that was roughly 60% full.
10 people rushed to the hospital, 9 employees and 1 a firefighter.
The people who are responders here have friends and relatives that work on site.
Meantime, this all comes as thousands of people near Los Angeles have been living in fear of a massive toxic explosion there. This industrial tank in Garden Grove, filled with 7,000 gallons of a flammable toxic chemical called methyl methacrylate, was on the verge of blowing up all weekend. But Monday, officials announced a crack had formed on the tank that relieved the pressure.
What they hope is that the chemical inside that tank will solidify to turn into a solid. Then we will not have any threat whatsoever.
Today, officials say so far none of the chemicals have leaked out, and atmospheric monitoring shows nothing harmful in the air.
Tonight, President Trump leaving Walter Reed Medical Center after a 3-hour visit, his third in the last 13 months, declaring himself in good health. The White House says he underwent routine annual dental and medical assessments as part of his regular preventative health care. President Trump, who will turn 80 in June, writing on social media, everything checked out perfectly. But tonight, no further details from the president's doctor. It comes amid questions about the president's health. Photos showing bruising on his hands, which he has been covering with makeup. The White House has said it's from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin. President Trump has also been spotted with swollen legs, which the president's doctor said is a result of chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition. Earlier this year, the president revealed he received a CT scan in October after the White House initially said it was an MRI. The president's doctor said the imaging was preventative and his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. After this most recent doctor's visit at Walter Reed today, the president heading back to the White House as tensions escalate with Iran. Over the weekend, President Trump praising the negotiations, saying the two sides were getting a lot closer to a deal. But then just hours after negotiators arrived in Qatar, the U.S. launching strikes on southern Iran. Tonight, U.S. officials calling it self-defense, saying they detected alarming activity over the past 24 hours. Iranian boats trying to lay mines near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's supreme leader vowing retaliation, saying the region will no longer be a shield for American bases.
Well, this is where we leave you for now. On behalf of the entire news team, I am Micah Dumé. Thank you for joining us.